Yeah, ouch. But that's okay. Jerry Brown is going to be sworn in again as governor later today, inheriting a huge financial crisis and, of course, a very interesting political dynamic happening in Sacramento right now. John Dadian, one of our political analysts, is here this morning and getting ready for maybe some big changes. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And good morning to you. I've been using your statistic that you shared with me, which is so interesting, and that is he was both the youngest and now will be the oldest governor of California.
Well, that's exactly right. And your segue introducing his nickname, Governor Moonbeam. I was at a luncheon about a year ago, sitting at a table, and Jerry Brown was the speaker, made a comment, and I said to the table I was seated at, I said, that's why they call him Governor Moonbeam. 5 people at the table turned to me and said, why do they call him Governor Moonbeam? They were not born when he was governor. Exactly,
and a lot of people do not remember this. All right, so stepping into this thing, first of all, Jerry Brown, just as a political animal. You have some statistics here. He's been in this political game for a long, long time, and there's practically no office the guy hasn't held.
That's correct. He's won 13 elections in his lifetime. He's only lost 4, and 3 of those were presidential, so you really can't harm him on that. The only other one he lost, of course, was the Senate to our local Pete Wilson. But yeah, he's been around, been at every office you could think of. You were surprised that he started out as community college trustee. So
very interesting. Out of a field of 124 people that were running,
came in #1. That's why he had such a success.
And I also forgot that he did so well in the presidential race back in 1976.
Came in #2 to the person who would eventually win the Democratic nominee and go on, Jimmy Carter. Yeah, he's definitely been around. Here's what we're looking at is I've used the phrase quite a bit from the 1960s when they said only Nixon could go to China, meaning that only Richard Nixon could open with communists because he was such an anti-communist.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying perhaps only Jerry Brown can attack the deficit, can work with the unions, can work with all the big pension issues.
You really think that he can sit there across from these unions and say, give up some of your pensions?
I think I think he's going to try, and I think he has to. He doesn't have a choice because the cuts they're talking about are very draconian. Talking about they're still hitting our education system, both at the CSU and the UC system. They're talking about closing, because of state funds, parks, libraries, etc. Middle class is going to start to rebel.
All right, there's a lot of talk of taxes and whatnot. He has promised no increase in taxes without a vote of the people. And there are some temporary, so-called temporary taxes, as we know. There really is no such thing. But some temporary taxes are scheduled to expire in July, including the automobile tax, some sales taxes. And he wants to put that to a vote of the people as well. He's not going to just extend them, so apparently he's keeping his word here on this.
So far, so good. Really what we're looking at is, unlike Governor Schwarzenegger, who used the excuse, and I use the word excuse on purpose, he used the excuse that he had a Democratic legislature that he couldn't work with. Governor Brown now has both the Senate and the Assembly of his own party. Whether it goes on the ballot or not, whether they make cuts, whether they pass taxes, he really does not have that excuse.
No, I mean, they should be able to work together as a unified party. You would think, right?
You would think.
But then you have to bring all those other people to the table, the unions, the labor union, you know. And that's going to be the tough part.
And keep in mind, a very underlying, even though he hasn't even taken office yet, he still has a couple more hours, but already a lot of people, even in his own party, are looking at, is he, whether or not he wants to be, a one-term governor because of his age or not. Yeah. So people are already lining up to run 4 years from now, and he's not even sworn in yet.
So now he, I understand, is going to be living in some kind of a very humble apartment. And as we were talking, the governor's mansion basically is a museum. Starting when he was the governor the first time, he never moved in.
His transition office has not announced yet. There's been a lot of rumors and reporters trying to peg him down because not only have they not said exactly where he's going to live, but of course you remember that specifically where he lived before, it not only was an apartment, but it was an apartment that the furnishings consisted of a mattress. And he prided himself for bringing on reporters and taking pictures of it. That's right. It was built, the original governor's mansion was built under when Governor Reagan was the governor of the state, but when Jerry Brown took over, he never moved in, and then because they had to sell it, when Governor Dick Machen took over after Jerry Brown, he didn't have the option of moving in.
And this is all leading to him being very frugal and him being a man of the earth and whatnot. And today, after the inauguration, we understand it's going to be a hot dog lunch.
Somebody of the General Services Administration, when Jerry Brown took over governor the first time, had to go up and tell his driver that you won't be a driver. We have to find another position for you, because not only the apartment, but it was an old Plymouth that he was driving.
The old Plymouth he would drive by himself, him and Linda Ronstadt.
Him and Linda Ronstadt.
Linda Ronstadt, right by his side there, Governor Moonbeam.
We forget during the 70s he was, as governor, part of the Hollywood establishment, and he really prided himself on that.
No doubt. Very interesting times. All right, let's talk about, before I let you go, what the governor did in terms of commuting or reducing the sentence for the son of Fabian Nunez, who was the former Assembly Speaker.
Right. One thing that really jumped out on this is both presidential pardons and gubernatorial pardons, normally the reason is for compassionate reasons. And some of the other commutations Schwarzenegger made were specifically for that reason. This was not done for that. There was no reason for this. This was a person who really was involved with taking a person's life. And I thought it was interesting. He said that he was only involved minimally. He wielded a knife that injured another person in this fight. He just didn't happen to kill the particular victim in this case. So there was really no reason. The LA Times is calling it political. It's pure political. It's just terrible. A lot of people confuse. Republicans used to have the criminal justice issue. That's no longer the case. Schwarzenegger was one of the worst governors on criminal justice issues, and he pardoned more serious offenders than any other governor. Gray Davis, a Democrat, was one of the strongest on criminal justice issues, and Gray Davis always made sure that he took the victims' concern into account. You notice that the victims' parents have already complained about this.
Absolutely. I was actually in that court hearing for the entire court hearing, and I sat next to the parents of the victim, and I sat next to Fabian Nunez, and it was just a bizarre, bizarre situation. A fight outside of San Diego State got out of control, and a kid died, and so...
That impacts us locally here. I'm going to use the word outrageous.
Yeah, yeah. All right. John Dadian, political analyst. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Dan.
And we'll see you as the year goes by. It's going to be interesting.
Very good.